Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joshua Chastain here with W.L.L show. This is WeLoveLaurens. I've got a very interesting interview coming up today. I'm sitting down with our wonderful Main Street representative, Jonathan Irick. Jonathan, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and speak with me. I'm looking very forward to this. Just a rundown of a few of the things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Squealing on the Square that's coming up, and just how successful and how awesome and amazing and fun that's going to be, not only for an adult, but also as a whole family, as a whole. Some of the things we're going to have going on there. We're going to talk a little bit about the last Finally Friday and how successful it was, as well as the new traffic patterns out here, just right off where I'm located right now on the square. And there's going to be a few more things, a few surprises there as well. So, hope y'all enjoy this, and we're about to get started. So, Jonathan, first of all, tell me a little bit about Main Street. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you really got started doing this and why.
Okay. Well, so I was born and raised here in Lawrence. My parents are originally from the Orangeburg area, but they moved here in the 70s. Brothers and sisters who were part of the first group of the graduating class of the new high school. And I went to work downtown here with Earl Thomas and Jewelers while I was in high school. Worked with them all through. Actually, I worked with them before I could drive. My parents would have to drop me off there before they would open. But worked all through high school with them, all through college. And while I was in college working there at the jewelry store, I got involved with Main Street on some of their committees. We've got 4 committees that meet monthly of all the different activities, and so I got involved with some of those. And I really saw the value in the program for downtown. From a business, I wasn't the business owner, but I was one of the managers there. So from that perspective, I could see it. And we had, as businesses, we had already been working on some other ideas before the Main Street program really got started really well. And so I saw the value in that. I worked at the jewelry store for about 14 years. And the opportunity came up when the previous Main Street director was going to be leaving. And so I applied for the job and thankfully got it. So I've been here now since 2006, since April 2006. And I've loved, pretty much every minute of it.
So it's safe to say that you've seen a lot of the changes that have happened on the square, both positive and negative. And you've seen a lot of the businesses that have come and that have gone. And are we ready to grow?
I definitely think we are. I think we are definitely ready to grow. One of the things that Main Street works on, and kind of step back a little bit too. So we've got Main Street Lawrence, which is part of Main Street, South Carolina. And then we are part of a national group called Main Street America. And so there are about 2,500 communities that are doing what we do or some version of that across the country right now. And the Main Street program is not a project that has a beginning and an end. It's a program that starts out with baby steps, and you continue to grow and change that program. Because with any size downtown, you go to Greenville, Spartanburg, here in the upstate, any size downtown, it has businesses that come and go. If you go to Greenville one month, you go back the next month, there's going to be businesses that have opened or closed. And so it's a constant work for a Main Street program to bring in new businesses. And I think that Lawrence is poised and ready for growth. I know from a citizen standpoint, we're definitely ready for that growth. And we've got buildings that are available. Everybody always says that Lawrence has good bones, and we do. We've got some great buildings, that were built back in the 1900s, late 1800s, 1900s, and they're all in really good shape. I mean, we've got some that need some rehab, to be brought up to current code, but the majority of our buildings that we have now are in really good shape. And so I think we're poised for a lot of good, positive growth.
Now, speaking of bringing those buildings up to code, that new IEBC that our city council was working so hard to get through and pass and everything, how effective is that going to be in the revitalization projects and just businesses having the want and desire to actually come here now that it's a little bit easier to, say, update these buildings?
Right. So one of the areas that we're hoping it's going to help with, and to be honest, I haven't delved into it as much as I could or should have yet, but one of the areas we're hoping for the assistance with is upper floor development. So when we look at vacancies and when we talk with national Main Street folks and we're talking with our property owners, the majority of our main floors are occupied. I mean, we have, I'm going to say 10 to 12 vacancies, but in the downtown our size, it's got the number of buildings we have, that's really not that bad, to be honest. It gives us some good stock and some good places to grow. But if our if our property owners aren't utilizing those second floors, they're not getting the return on their buildings. And so this new code, what we're hoping is that it's going to allow the building code officials a little bit more leeway, or maybe not leeway is not the right word, but some more tools to help with that upper floor development. An example that we always talk about, and we've been talking about this for years, is with sprinkler systems. One of the issues right now, and it took effect in South Carolina in 2005 and 6, if you do any mixed use upper floor development, especially residential, you have to have sprinkler systems. Well, when you do that, and I live downtown, I want to build in downtown, and I live in it, so I understand the safety component for sure. But when you do that, that also takes that return that a developer is looking for, or a property owner is looking for, and runs it out incredibly long at the rent rates that we're getting currently in downtown. Now, if you go to the larger cities, again, I hate to keep bringing up Greenville, but if you go to Greenville, where the apartments that we have in downtown Lawrence right now would probably rent for $1,500 to $2,000 a month, here in Lawrence, they're renting for a little less than $1,000. So again, it runs that return out. But we're hoping that the new existing building codes will help with these existing buildings that we have, help give us some more tools and some more options for bringing them up to the code so that we can get more of those upper floor developments.
I know I sure hope it does. I mean, I do. I look around and I walk around the square almost on a daily basis, and that'd be a pretty set of apartments up there. Man, that'd be a beautiful, like, upper story restaurant. You know, you just look around and you see all these buildings that it'd be perfect for so many different things, and they're just, nobody wants to touch them. It costs so much money to bring all of them up together.
Right, and not only that, but the city can't just say, the building owner can't just say, oh, well, we're just gonna let this happen, because then it goes back to a liability issue. Thankfully, we've had some fires and some things happen over the years, way back in the years. Thankfully, none recently, but there have been some downtowns. Georgetown is one, for instance, that comes to mind, that they had one building catch on fire and it spread so fast they lost a whole block of their historic buildings along Front Street. So it's something that can happen easily, and we don't want to overlook that safety component at all. But developing those upper floors is huge for the success of the businesses that are downstairs, because the more people we have, like myself and my wife, who are living down here. I mean, when we go out to eat, when we get ready to go out to eat, the first thing we say is, well, do we want to go to Roma's or the Capitol at night? And if we've eaten at those a couple times a week, which we probably have, then we're going to go somewhere else. But our first thought is always what's right around us that we can walk to. So the more upper floor development that we can get with more people living down here, the more successful those ground floor businesses will be.
I completely agree. Speaking again also on safety, I know we have a new traffic pattern coming up out here. I mean, just literally right out your door almost. Right. I mean, how important is that going to be safety-wise for people? Because one of the biggest gripes of people is parking on the square. But to my knowledge, we have two very decent-sized, if not, I mean, I guess you could say there's three. You got the one at the bank, and then you've got the one right across the street, and then the one also down here on the end that's specifically designed and reserved for downtown parking.
Right.
How much safety-wise is that going to help in transitioning across that street right there?
Well, I think it's going to be huge. It's been part of our master plan now for a while, since the plan was adopted, I think, in 2017. And with the parking, that's always the first thing when we talk about new businesses. They say, well, I hear the parking is an issue downtown. Well, other than about 2 hours on a Thursday, I guarantee that you can find parking in downtown. It's not a parking problem that we have, or it's not a lack of parking that we have. The problem with is the lack of folks wanting to be willing to walk to a business. So many times, and we talk about this a lot, we've done some measurements. The two parking lots you were just talking about are actually about 300 to 400 feet from the courthouse itself. So if you look at any of the big box stores or the malls that we go to, and we drive around and we find that parking place, I guarantee that we walk further to those big box stores than we're willing to walk in our downtown. I'm going to say that too. It's our downtown because, and I'm as guilty as this as anybody else. So when we go to our conferences, our National Main Street conferences, or really when my wife and I go just about anywhere out of town, We go downtown to whatever the downtown is, and then if we're going out of town to a big conference, we don't have a car. So this year our conference was in Seattle. We flew into Seattle, got to the hotel, and we walked for 3 days. I never pulled up in front of a restaurant, never pulled up in front of a store and parked. We walked every single day, everywhere we wanted to go, until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And so there's no reason we can't do that here. And again, I'm as guilty as that. I'm quick to jump in the car and drive up to the post office or to Dollar General or that shopping center down there. But again, it's a mindset that we have, and it's something that we've got to change. That being said, those two parking areas provide us a lot of parking, and people just got to utilize them. So the changes to Harper Street that DOT is moving forward with, we hope, or that they're proposing, I think is going to be key. It was part of that master plan. I don't have the numbers, but I can tell you we have had multiple accidents at that corner there where the fountain is with the city of Laurens. So much so that the city and the Commission of Public Works have permanently taken out 2 lampposts. One there at the fountain and the other one at the other intersection with 76 and 221 that actually had the crossing light on it for the crosswalk, because those 2 lampposts have been hit so many times. And, unfortunately, when those are hit, they obviously have to be completely replaced because they're destroyed. Well, the majority of the folks that have hit those have not had insurance, and those lampposts are about $5,000 per pole. So you can imagine, in a span of about 3 months, we had one pole that was knocked down about 4 times. So that's almost $20,000 that maybe not all of it was out of pocket for us locally, but I would be willing to say the majority of it was. So then you have folks that want to try to park over there, and again, the cars are coming down from like the post office area, and they are going way too fast. And with it being double lane coming down towards the square, people coming in from out of town, if you're in that right-hand lane and you're not looking at the signs, when you get to the square and you realize that lane is sending you right, they will try to swerve over into that left-hand lane. And that's caused a lot of accidents. Again, our original design there around the fountain, the bollards that are out there with the chain link fence, the original ones had pineapple type design on top. Those had gotten hit so many times that we had to replace those with breakaway bollards. So again, we're hoping this is going to slow people down because they'll already be in the one lane that'll be there. They don't have to make a decision at the last minute. But we're also hoping that it'll give us another opportunity to market downtown to these people because it's going to slow them down some. And they can say, oh, if I make a right here, what's going to be down that way? Or can we put more signage there? And then it's going to also hopefully make people feel safer trying to cross 221 because they'll be slower. If DOT puts in the crosswalk, there'll actually be a crosswalk there and hopefully some additional signage to let people know that a crosswalk is coming up. And so we're hoping that that's going to allow more people to use those parking lots, which then in that area will help the food truck area. It's going to help more businesses and the other development that we are wanting to do back in that area. So we've got plenty of parking in downtown. It's just a matter of, are we willing to, and I say we, including me myself, are we willing to walk a little bit extra to get and support those small businesses?
And I completely agree. When me and my wife come down here on Thursday, Friday, even Saturday, afternoon, evening, we may circle the square one time. And I may have missed a parking spot, but there's always a place to park. And if we don't have one, we cruise right down here, right off the end of this set of buildings, and we park right there and we walk back.
Right.
And we don't get back in the car until we're done on the square. And we'll do 3 or 4 laps around the square just to, I want to go back in here. Or I want to go back in the Southern Twist. Or I want to go and get a cup of coffee.
Right.
I'm really in the mood for a deli sandwich. Let me go run over to Main Street Bake Shop. We walk almost everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I live just right up the road, and we have a dollar store right down the road from us. I think I've driven to that dollar store maybe 6 times the entire 2.5 years I've lived here. Any other time, we walk.
Right.
We love walking. We love to go down to the park right down the road here, and that's just something we love to do, and I wish more people did. It would be convenient, and you could then beautify and really put some unique photo opportunities and everything else out there if more people were willing to walk just to help say, hey, Laurens has this. Check it out.
Right.
Now,
well, going back to the North Harper Street changes too, a couple other things. The narrowing of the lanes, or what they call a road diet. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to allow potential space for bike lanes too. Again, that's something that the city and DOT will discuss in the future. But the reduction of those lanes will give some room on each side for bike lanes, which is great because we have a lot of people that even here locally ride bikes, but we have a lot of people that are coming in from the Fountain Inn, Simpsonville area, especially on the weekends on bikes. So that'll make them feel a little safer. The other issue that I've heard a lot of people talk about is why are we wanting to slow people down? Are we wanting people to crawl along that area of highway? And no, I mean, the speed limit's going to still be what it is. And the road, when you get down to the actual square and behind, right there at the 76 parking lot that we've been talking about, it's already reduced down to 2 lanes. So what we're actually doing is hopefully making it safer as you're trying to pull out from the post office from Gordon Street. Right now you're having to look at 4 lanes of traffic, 2 going one way and 2 going the other, and you got to time it just right to make it out there without getting hit, honestly. So by doing this, you're just going to reduce the number of lanes you got to look at and consider before you're pulling out there. So again, it should help safety-wise from all different standpoints. And no, we're not asking people to crawl along there because the speed limit will still be what it is. But we're hoping that that's going to make people abide by that speed limit and pay attention a little more to that area.
Now, this literally last Friday, we had our final Friday. Now this was, and I really hate to say this, it's really bad of me to say, this is one of the first years where me and my wife have actually gone and been at all of them. In previous years we went to 1, maybe 2, but this is the first time we went to all of them. And I was very pleased with the overall experience. I was very pleased with the crowd. How do you feel personally about the success behind those events? And is there a possibility to maybe do them, say, earlier in the year and then later and have more of them? Is there any plans to do more of this, maybe not so much on a year-round type of deal, but maybe 2 or 3 more throughout the year?
Sure. So the success of Finally Friday has been continually getting better every year. We have seen bigger crowds this year than we've seen any of our previous years, which we certainly do appreciate the community support in that. And one of the things Main Street tries to do when we're booking bands for the Finally Fridays and for Squealing is we try to do a variety of music. People love one particular type of music, and that's great, but not everybody likes that one type of music. And we are a diverse community, and so we try to have music that's going to appeal to a lot of different people. Now, we may never have music that appeals to some people, but we do our best. So I think that the Finally Friday is starting to catch on. And when we start new events and when we go to festival and events meetings, they always say that festivals take 3 to 5 years before people really catch on. Same thing with a business. It takes 3 to 5 years before you're really starting to see that support. And so we've made a few minor changes here and there, but we've been very pleased, especially this year, with the turnout and with the support. That being said, Finally Friday is a fairly expensive venture, and Squealing too. I mentioned that, but when you start looking at bands, the bands are coming in. We don't provide a stage, which is good because we don't have that cost. We don't provide the sound, so they're providing all of that. So honestly, when you're looking at that, your bands are going to charge us around $1,200 to $1,500 per month. Well, so our budget is, but we get $5,000 from the city through the accommodations tax money, or hospitality tax money. And so that money goes to fund that. Well, that also has to pay for our advertising and everything. So it's a very limited budget. And that's why we throw in some live DJs, just because that kind of reduces our costs. We've had the Lawrence CPW pitched in some extra money this year so that we could bring in another band, a little bit bigger band. So if we could expand the funding for it, the sponsorship for it, yes, we would look at it. So one of the other things we were also talking about is through the transformation strategy workshop and stuff, we talked about one of the areas being entertainment. So we're talking about adding some type of blues music festival, maybe a one day to begin with, to focus on a different type of blues than what most people are used to, but the Piedmont blues that we're known for here. And people may not know it, but we are known for it here. So we're looking at adding some more of those. But we'd also like to have some more community partners who would want to come in and have events downtown, so that, again, Main Street's not trying to do all of them. And in these meetings, we've had these planning meetings. We always have to bring up money. That's unfortunately a big part of it. And in a community our size, and with so many different organizations and activities going on, we're always going to the same people asking for money. And so it's a little difficult trying to get those sponsors, and increase sponsors for all the different events that we're trying to do. But we've had great community partners that have helped us with that. So all that being said, we're always looking at changing our events, making them better. It may be where we could spread that Finally Friday out, but people love it every month. But I can see us definitely trying to grow it and expand it out some. And it may be, we actually base this off of Somerville's, what they call their third Thursday. And so many towns are doing that, doing some aspect of that. And what they do is they do it every month, third Thursday. Sometimes they have themes, so sometimes they have local authors that are in the different businesses. But their businesses a lot of times are taking those third Thursdays and they're doing things inside their businesses. So the Main Street program, they're just promoting that, hey, it's third Thursday, come down and see what's going on. And that may be something where we try to ask our businesses on those months that we're not doing it. If you guys want to plan your own activities inside your businesses, we'll promote it, that it's, another Finally Friday activity going on. But we're always looking at ways that we can make our events better and ways that we can change them, for sure.
Now, I was at the big Main Street meeting that we had just last month, and the consensus for the survey results were, number one, as you said, it was entertainment. Number two, it was fine dining. Is it inconceivable to say that a J. Peters or something along those lines is a possibility here and it would be successful?
No, it's not inconceivable to say that. So one of the things that we talked about during that meeting, and we had an opportunity to have the National Main Street folks come in and kind of share this and demonstrate this with the public that was at the public meeting. But when you're looking at recruiting businesses, you have to also look at your market data. And so we've had market analysis done. Our last full market analysis was in 2012. But the National Main Street Group, pulled some more recent information for us. So you look at it, and for years, again, I've been doing this since 2006, and we've always heard that we want a steakhouse. So, is something like a J. Peters an option? Certainly. An option like that, or a more regional type restaurant, is going to be something that's going to be much easier for us to try to recruit to Laurens. When you look at your big chains like Applebee's and Outback and all that, that's what people always say at first. Well, those businesses, those national chains, they have a set of numbers that they're looking for before they will even consider going into a community. The majority of the time, it's rooftops. And when you look at Laurens and you look at Clinton, even, we're such a rural community. We just don't have that cluster of rooftops except for in one or two little areas. So, when we talk to them, which we've talked to a lot of chain big box restaurants, and we just don't have the numbers they're looking for. And so the better idea is for us to look at more regional type restaurants, more entrepreneurs that are wanting to start that have a background and understand what it takes to run a restaurant. But I think we definitely are poised to get a nice sit-down restaurant. Now, also during that meeting you mentioned, it's interesting because when you're looking at that, you talk about fine dining, you talk about steak restaurants, you also have to look at your market data and your what they call socioeconomic areas. So the question posed by the national folks was, how many in that meeting go out and eat $100 meal, how many go out and eat $100 meal on a regular basis? And I think two people raised their hand.
I was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Yeah. So we don't all have the money that you have, but it's easy to run up $100 tab, for sure. But the majority of people in there don't do that. So if you go back and you look at a J. Peters or something where two people could go eat for, say, maybe $50 a meal, that's more what we can support right now. Now, that's not to say that as things grow, as we see more growth, as we get more housing here, as we get more industries coming in, that sort of thing, those numbers always change. I mean, those things are always in flux. So what we can support now may not be what we all want in the future, but at some point in time it can be. And so as those numbers and those economic things change and the overall economics change, then we can attract bigger, nicer things. And so, but we would not be doing businesses justice if we went out and we said, hey, we want you to come to downtown Laurens. You're a nice, super nice restaurant that has white tablecloths and your meals are, $7,500 a person or whatever. That just would not be right for us to try to go out and recruit somebody like, because we can look at the numbers and know that we cannot support that type of business. We can support nicer restaurants, and those are going to be more on the line of regional type restaurants, what we call regional chains, or mom and pop restaurants, but people that have a maybe even a different concept about restaurants and that sort of thing. So I definitely think that Laurens is poised for more growth. You're right. We are looking at culinary as being one of the focuses, and that way we're not looking just at restaurants, but we're looking at brew pubs and breweries and bakeries and everything else you can think of. We already have some of those here, but all of the surveys showed that the people are coming to downtown Laurens and they think of downtown to come and eat, drink, and that's not just from the bars. That's eat, drink coffee, drink alcohol, whatever, and have a good time. Have a good time with their family. So those are the three areas that I think our board will be voting next week to focus on, which will be culinary, arts, and entertainment. So that's sort of where we'll be focused on as we move forward.
And for anybody out there that was not at the Main Street meeting down here on the square last month, it is up on our YouTube page, and it's a bit lengthy. We got about 95% of it. Me and my wife did on camera and audio. If you have the opportunity, even if you want to just scroll through it to the main points, please, I highly recommend going and listening and watching it. There's a lot of good information there that is talking about a lot of the great things that are coming to Laurens and some of the things that we can do, not only as a city standpoint, but as a small community standpoint to really help with that growth a little bit. So please go on there and have a listen and watch. And again, everybody, this is the W.L.L show. This is We Love Laurens. Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Please share this, guys. Tell your friends. Tell everybody.